If you have something that looks like this in your chart, then you, my friend, have a stellium. A stellium is just a group of 3 or more planets all hanging out together in one sign or one house. Think of this like an energy bomb dropped in one spot in your natal chart. Obviously, this is going to be important. Today, we're going to think about what a stellium could look like through each sign and how the sign of your stellium could help shape you and what lessons it might be trying to teach you in the process. But before we get to the signs, there's a few things to understand. One, obviously, the planets involved will play a major role in how your stellium is going to play out in your life. But this video could help you realize what traits and motivations help drive your thoughts and behaviors. Number 2, don't ignore the rest of your chart. Your big 3, your sun, your moon, your ascendant, those are all huge players, and your chart works as a system. So those major players are going to help lay the foundation for your entire chart. We're pulling out just one little piece to look at, which is helpful, but it's never going to give you the entire picture. It's like if an alien came down and took back a fingernail to help describe the human race. I mean, it's helpful, and yes, it's valid information, but it does not even come close to giving you the full picture. And that was kind of gross, so I'm sorry. And the third thing that you need to know is that on our site, thehappymystic.com, there are entire articles dedicated to a stellium through each of the signs. Also on those articles, there's a free worksheet with a reflection page that you can download to kind of deep dive into your stellium in each sign. And the link to where to find those is in the description below. Now let's look at how each sign could shake some of its flavor onto your stellium. So let's go. Let's kick it off with Aries. So if you find 3 or more planets in your sign of Aries, that is a lot of fire energy. You've got a lot of Mars influence, that bold and courageous influence in your life as well. You may be a little bit aggressive, competitive, risk-taking. Maybe you're impulsive at times as well. Definitely want to assert who you are as a person. That might be very important to you. But you also might be a really warm-hearted person, and you kind of have this confidence about you that lights up the people around you as well. And they might see you as a leader, somebody that they would follow up a mountain or wherever you may be leading them. So if you find a stellium in your sign of Aries, one lesson it might be trying to teach you is to learn to stand up for yourself while also controlling your temper. Now on to Taurus. If you find a stellium in your sign of Taurus, you have a lot of earthy energy in your chart. And also Venus's influence, this aesthetic, this desire to have human connection, to form relationships is really important for Taurus. And Taurus has a lot of really stable, fixed energy. Once Taurus starts something, it just wants to keep on doing it. Why change course? That's what Taurus thinks. So if you find a stellium in Taurus in your chart, you may be very dependable. You may be someone that everybody knows that they can count on. Relationships might be really important to you. And you also want to nurture those relationships and treat people with respect because forming those connections is such an important part of your life. And if you find a stellium in Taurus in your chart, one of the lessons it might be trying to teach you is to learn to find that safety and stability without becoming completely stagnant
and boring and stuck in your ways.
Next up is Gemini. And if you find a stellium and Gemini in your chart, that's a lot of air energy. And Mercury also plays an important role in your chart if you find that many planets in Gemini. Mercury with its curiosity and its drive to find knowledge. So if you have a stellium in Gemini in your chart, you might be somebody who loves learning new things. One way to learn those new things is to talk to people. You may be somebody who can chat with anyone, whether you're at an airport or a restaurant, you just might meet new friends everywhere and somebody to talk to and have interesting conversations. And you might not be somebody who places a lot of emotion into these conversations or judgments in what people are saying. You're just interested in the facts. What do they have to share with me? And then also, what can I share with them in return? You may be somebody who's on the move and kind of looking for your next adventure and new ways to learn things. So if you have a stellium in Gemini, one lesson that it might be trying to teach you is to learn to feed that curiosity without completely losing yourself to restlessness and anxiety in the process. Next is Cancer. And if you find a stellium in your sign of Cancer, that is just a ton of watery, moon-infused energy surging in your chart. So this is a lot of emotion. Cancer has very deep emotions. It's like it's fluent in feelings, and feelings are kind of its main language. And then it's influenced by the moon that asks us to nurture the people in our lives and protect the people in our lives. And it also has this fantastic imagination that it offers to Cancer. So if you find a Cancer stellium in your chart, you might be an incredibly compassionate person. You may really nurture the people in your life, belonging to something like a family or having that really close group of friends that feels like family might be really important to you. Having a safe place to rest your head and where your family members can rest their head might be very important. And you might be like super protective of them too. Like I think of that whole mama bear thing. That is like pure Cancer. Kind of like, I'm really nurturing, but if you mess with my kids, I will also get really ugly, okay? That is pure Cancer energy. But Cancer is also a little bit ambitious. It's not just all like feelings and love and compassion. Cancer is also determined and wants to do things in the world. It wants to break out of its shell and kind of see what it can do. So if you have a stellium in Cancer in your chart, one of the lessons that it might be trying to teach you is to allow yourself to be just vulnerable enough. So not too much, not too little. And also here's a bonus one for Cancer. Learn how to nurture and love people without completely smothering them in the process. Next up is a stellium in Leo. And Leo, again, back to this fiery, passionate, intense energy. And this time we bring in the influence of the sun that's also fiery, but also magnetic and take charge. It is the center of the universe. And under its influence, Leo is kind of also the center of the universe. With this much Leo energy in your chart, people might just gravitate toward you naturally. You might be a natural born leader or kind of the center of the social group or the person that people come to because you're magnetic or the person that people come to because you're interesting and fantastic. With all of these planets in Leo in your chart, expressing what you have to the outside world might be really important to you. And you might be really, really good at something that you have to share with the world. And when we think of Leo, we always think of like an actor or a dancer or a singer. But obviously, there are a lot of people who have strong Leo charts that are not performers. But there are other ways to perform and express yourself. It might be at work. It might be through presentations. It might even be at home. There are so many ways to just be fabulous at what you're doing and have a fantastic way of just being great at something and pulling in other people's attention because of it. And that's the thing with Leo. Leo needs other people to express themselves to. And that's not a bad thing. That is Leo's purpose, to take what they have, these gifts that they have inside of them, and share them with the world. And if you have a stellium in Leo in your chart, one of the lessons that it might be trying to teach you is to learn to express yourself and let out what you have without becoming completely dependent on the applause of others. Next up is Virgo. And if you find a stellium in Virgo in your chart, you have an abundance again of this earth energy, this dependable and predictable, patient earth energy in your chart. And also Mercury comes back into play as Virgo's ruling planet. Intellectual, analytical, and logical drive toward knowledge is present also with Virgo. So if you have a stellium in Virgo, you may be very driven to succeed. And you may push yourself hard to do that. And unlike Leo, you are not pushing yourself for the applause of others. You're pushing for your own self-respect. What's important to you may be chipping away at learning something and honing this craft that you do. And again, this could be anything that Virgo is trying to improve. But with a lot of Virgo energy in your chart, you may be really good at seeing the potential in things. And that's what I love about Virgo. Virgo is like the natural life coach because Virgo can see where a person is now or where they are now and the potential that someone has or the potential that they have. So they are going to push themselves or push you or push whoever toward that ideal that they know they can achieve. And Virgo comes equipped with the self-discipline and the maturity and the responsibility in order to get that done. And if you find a stellium in Virgo in your chart, one of the lessons that it might be trying to teach you is to learn to love yourself completely while also improving yourself. So love yourself wherever you're at in the process. And next up on our list is a stellium in Libra. And again, we're back to air energy. We've got this intellectual, analytical side to Libra, but then we also bring in Venus, who brings a relationship-oriented motivation to Libra and a love for aesthetics and harmony and a respectful nature. And everybody loves Libra. So if you find a stellium in Libra in your chart, You may be a very charming, popular person who is very social. Everybody just might like you because you're probably very pleasant and you don't like drama and you don't like aggression. And because of Libra's analytical nature, you may be very good at seeing both sides of something and understanding how they can kind of both be valid at the same time, or two people can be right at the same time. Libra's got this incredible knack for diplomacy. And then Venus brings in this charm that gives Libra this way of just making everybody in its presence feel comfortable. So if you find a stellium in Libra in your chart, one of the lessons it might be trying to teach you is to learn to find balance between honoring everyone's opinions, but also asserting your own when needed or when wanted. Because being diplomatic and pleasant is great, but sometimes Libra's got an opinion too, and that's okay. Next up, we find stellium in Scorpio. And if you find a ton of planets in Scorpio in your chart, you have an abundance of water energy. Again, that emotional feeling energy in your chart. And this is combined with the influence of its modern ruler Pluto, and then also its traditional ruler Mars. And both offer a little different flavor to Scorpio to make it the distinct sign that it is. Pluto offers this transformative and kind of power-seeking energy to Scorpio and gives it this tendency to kind of want to dominate. And then Mars comes in and brings in a little bit of ambition and a little bit of bravery and a little bit of courage to Scorpio as well. So with all that planetary energy in Scorpio in your chart, you may be somebody who really has a knack for kind of sniffing out the truth in others. Again, as a water sign, Scorpio runs on emotions. It is fluent in feelings and it can sense feelings in other people. So if somebody's trying to hide something from Scorpio is going to be able to figure it out. And Pluto's influence gives Scorpio this ability to really be able to handle the dark side of life. So combine that with its water element, and it can handle these deep, dark emotions, these ugly truths that maybe nobody else can handle. With so much Scorpio energy in your chart, you might be the person that other people come to if they have some horrible secret that they don't think that they can tell anybody else, because they know that they'll be able to tell you and you'll be able to handle it. And you also may be very real and very honest, just a real person, and not somebody who feels like they have to put on airs or wear a mask in public. You kind of are who you are, but you may also have this really compassionate and nurturing side to you as well. And you may be somebody that other people know isn't going to judge them, because if you're their friend or their loved one, they know that you're going to love them no matter what, because you prefer the real person. And if you have a stellium in Scorpio in your chart, one lesson it might be trying to teach you is to learn to deep dive into that emotional world and all of its ugliness without letting it completely consume you. Just learning to observe it for what it is. Next is a stellium in Sagittarius. And if you find a ton of planets in Sagittarius in your chart, that is a ton of fire energy. So we're back to that intensity, passion, a ton of enthusiasm and optimism. And then we have Jupiter's influence mixed in with that as its ruling planet. And of course, Jupiter is the planet of expansion. It wants to expand everything it gets its hands on and have more of it. Jupiter is a planet of abundance. And so it inspires Sagittarius to want to do all the things and to do everything, to experience everything. And it also brings a faith in life. Jupiter is about faith, which can be spirituality, but it can also just be believing that everything's going to be okay and work out in the end. So with all these planets in Sagittarius in your chart, you may be an incredibly optimistic person who's very curious to try new things and to shake it up and to get out of your comfort zone. You may be really interested in learning how other people live or what other people think. You may be always looking for kind of the next thing, whether that's something to do, something to learn, something to feel. Sagittarius is always like, okay, what's next? And faith and spirituality might be important to you. You may be somebody that just knows that there's meaning behind everything. Even if you can't really explain why, or you don't have evidence why, that doesn't matter. It's just this feeling that you have. So if you have a stellium in Sagittarius in your chart, one lesson it might be trying to teach you is to learn to do all the things and follow your heart wherever it takes you, but also stick with some of them once in a while and finish a few. We are on to a stellium in Capricorn. And with that many planets in Capricorn in your chart, we are back to having an abundance of earth energy, that reliable, practical, and dependable energy that it brings to Capricorn. And now combine with that Saturn's influence as its ruling planet. And Saturn is the planet of constriction and limits and patience and seeing things through and challenges. So if you have a stellium in Capricorn in your chart, integrity might be very important to you. You may be out for self-respect and that's it. It doesn't really matter what accolades you get or what other people think of you. As long as you are acting in a way that you think is responsible and mature and doing the right thing, and you're working hard enough that you gain your own self-respect, that may be enough for you. And with this much Capricorn energy, big goals and reaching goals might be something that's also a big part of your life. You may come with the patience and the self-discipline and the nose to the grindstone needed to get done anything that you want to get done. But with Saturn's influence, it might not always be easy. Saturn likes to throw in challenges and not make things. This isn't Jupiter. It doesn't like to make things easy and fun and optimistic. Saturn is realistic, and it might kind of throw some, cogs in your wheels once in a while. But Capricorn also brings the grit needed to see things through. So if you find a stellium in Capricorn in your chart, one lesson that it might be trying to teach you is to learn to go after those big goals and to work hard to reach those highest goals that you have, but also remember to live in the process. Take care of your needs, feel what you need to feel. You're not a one-dimensional person that was only born to work. Enjoy life as you're living it. Stellium in Aquarius is next. And if you find many planets in Aquarius in your charts, then you have a ton of air energy that is abundant. That is that intellectual and critical and logical energy that comes with that air element. And with Aquarius, we also have the influence of Saturn as its traditional ruler and also Uranus as its modern ruler. So Saturn brings a self-reliant sense to Aquarius that really the only person that it has to please is itself. And that's not in a selfish way. That's in the self-respect way, kind of like Capricorn, where as long as Aquarius feels as though it's living within its own ideals, that's enough. It doesn't have to please other people. And then we have Uranus, this planet of the unexpected and doing things its own way and innovation and being eccentric. So Uranus influences Aquarius to be itself, to come up with its own way of doing things and inventing its own way of life or its own ideals. So if you have an Aquarius stellium in your chart, you may be somebody who is okay with having to live how you want to live, even if other people don't understand it. You may be very idealistic, and equality and fairness might be incredibly important to you. You might be somebody who has very inventive and innovative thoughts about things. This could be at work, this could be at home, this could be within relationships, depending on the condition and the placement of your Aquarius stellium. There might be something about you that's just very unique and that other people that know you just might not get. But with this much Aquarium energy, that might be okay with you. It's not like you necessarily want people to not like you or want people to think you're weird or not understand you. But that might just be collateral damage because you have to live to your own set of ideals and live your own truth. But if you have a stellium in Aquarius, one lesson that it might be trying to teach you is to learn how to forge your own path and live within that set of ideals. But at the same time, not isolate yourself more than you have to. And embrace the people that still want to be in your life, so long as they respect your ideals and also live within the boundaries that you set. And last up, we have stellium in Pisces. And if you find a lot of planets in Pisces in your chart, then you have a lot of water element energy also. That feeling and emotional and sensitive energy. And then combine that with the influence of its two rulers, Jupiter as its traditional ruler and Neptune as its modern ruler. Jupiter influences Pisces with this leaning toward faith and spirituality, and then bring in Neptune's influence. It's all about submitting to the higher power and dissolving your sense of self to find this greater feeling of oneness with the universe. And that there's more to life than just, waking up and going to work and coming home. It all has a meaning somehow. Even if we don't understand it, even if we can't put our finger on it, we know it's there. So if you have a Pisces stellium in your chart, you might be somebody who is very compassionate, like somebody who seems to have this unending well of compassion and love and nurturing for other people. You may be somebody who's also very intuitive and very sensitive as well. You may absorb the feelings of other people just by being around them. And you may know what people are thinking before they really tell you. Like you might know things that you really have no way of knowing. You may have a sense that in the grand scheme of things, none of these little details that we all get so worked up about are important at all. You may also have a fantastic imagination. So if you have a stellium in Pisces in your chart, one of the lessons it might be trying to teach you is to learn to search for that sense of oneness that you're after And maybe that's through meditation or other practices. But what it's not through is dissolving your identity into the people around you and just becoming the people that you're with. If you want to learn more about your stellium and its sign, be sure you look in the description for the link where you can find articles on a stellium through every sign. And I go more into depth in those articles. And there's also a free worksheet and reflection page download that you can find in each article. So have a fantastic day and take care.